Hi there everyone, Jack back again on the Vinyl Voyage. So over the last couple of weeks I noticed a lot of people posting up videos as part of a contest for Randall Weaver, who has achieved over 500 videos in the VC. He's been part of the VC for 5 years, so he set a contest to show 5 albums that you've listened to more than 100 times. I thought that was a really interesting question, so I thought today's the day I'm going to do it. So I went over to Randall's channel and realised that the deadline's passed. I've missed it. I've been fanning around with videos to do with memes and bad album covers, and I've missed the real juice. So I'm kind of peed off about that. But hey ho, I thought I liked the question and I wanted to do a response to it. So I'm going to do it anyway. If you've not been to Randall's channel before, go over and subscribe. He's almost up to 1,000 subscribers. So that'd be great to get him up to 1,000. So I watched a lot of the videos as part of this contest, and I liked the one that Dale did from Gatefold 33. He did a good video, and he spoke at the beginning about how it would be difficult to achieve 100 listens of an album for modern albums, because if you're a gentleman or a woman of a certain age, you've got limited time. You have probably loads of albums to listen to, so it's quite hard to focus 100 listens on one specific album. But of course, that is not the case from days gone by when you were a carefree teenager. It was certainly not for me, because in those days, if I grabbed an album that I liked, I would listen to it again and again and again and again, and especially some of those big hitters when I was like in my teenage years. A lot of the friends that I ran about with then, they were into similar music to me, so if I was at friends' houses, we would be listening to the same albums over and over again. So there was loads, really, to be honest, that I'm sure that I could have listened to more than 100 times. I think that there would have been some that I could have listened to more than 100 times in a month, easily. But here are some of them. Okay, so I think the Beatles I excluded, because every Beatles album I think that I've listened to probably more than 100 times. But not so the Stones. I wanted to include the Stones, so I've not shown much Stones since I've started doing videos, so I wanted to show Sticky Fingers from '71. For me, the pinnacle of the Stones' career, where Mick Taylor for me was at his absolute peak. I loved that kind of cosmic country influence that Graham Parsons was having on Keith Richards in songs like Dead Flowers and Wild Horses. Obviously, Bobby Keys is all over this as well with his saxophone on Brown Sugar. For me, it's just a absolutely amazing, amazing album. It's like dirty, sleazy, bluesy rock and roll at its finest. I've got a wee zipper cover here, a bit fragile up here, so I won't take it out, but it's got the nice stones in her. You've also got other great players on here like Nicky Hopkins doing his usual stuff on the piano. But yeah, it's like all killer, no filler, just an absolute beauty of an album. I travelled around a lot in my life, and this would be an album that was never ever far from my side, whether it would be generally on CD when I was younger, when I was moving around a lot, or on MP3. But this is just the pinnacle for me. It's absolutely brilliant. This would this would probably be well over 500 times, I would imagine. My favourite songs would be Dead Flowers, I love, and Moonlight Mile. Moonlight Mile would be like one of my favourite songs of all time. So there we go. Sticky Fingers would be number one. Okay, number two from 1972. Another one that would be over 500 times. Neil Young, Harvest. Just a absolutely fantastic album as well. I love the feel of the cover. Again, an album that's just always went with me wherever I've went. But I love Neil Young's voice. I love his songwriting, and all of that. But the thing that really drew me to this, it seems strange to say, was the drum beat. I loved that kind of country drum beat in songs like Out in the Weekend, on Harvest, other songs as well. I love the orchestration on Words and that Man Needs a Maid, and then there's like Darkness, A Needle and the Damage Done. So yeah, this is just a fantastic album, really good. Like I said, I must have listened to this easily over 500 times. I don't listen to it so much now, because since I've kind of explored loads of Neil Young's albums, I like listening to other Neil Young albums Tonight's the Night's another one that I've probably listened to over 100 times. But yeah, this would be the one that I get into first. I think it was one of the guys that played in the band that I played in school. He brought it to a band practice, and that was it. Just absolutely fell in love with it, and it's been an ever present ever since, like I'm sure it has for a lot of people. Okay, next up, 1973. We've got John Kale with Paris 1919. And this one would be the one that I discovered latest. So I only actually heard this album in about 2013, 2012, 2013. I was living in Cyprus at the time. And, sometimes when you kind of fall into maybe little moments of apathy with your music listening, where you're not really discovering anything new, and you're kind of getting a little bit fed up with listening to the same old stuff. And then I discovered this album. I've always been a massive Velvets fan, but and I'd been into vintage violence from like a young age, but I'd never heard Paris 1919, or I think I'd heard it before, but I hadn't properly get into it. But when I get into it in Cyprus, I just listened to it non-stop, and I probably had about 2 or 3 years. It probably was, along with a few other albums, it was like the kind of soundtrack to my time in Cyprus. But, like John Cale, so idiosyncratic with his songwriting, and with his voice is really unique as well. Songs like Child's Christmas in Wales, Hanky Panky Know How. It's like such a strange song. Who comes up with a title like that? Hanky Panky Know How. Yeah, I think again, just all killer, no filler, absolutely brilliant stuff. John Cale's just such a dude. He's like always managed to remain cool through all of his different years of making music and producing music and the bands that he's produced. But for me, this is the best of the lot. I used to get into an argument with someone before I'd properly heard this that Vintage Violence was the best of his albums, and the guy who I would argue with would say that it was Paris 1919, and I stand corrected. This is by far for me his best one. I've listened to most of his albums now, or a lot of his albums, but yeah, listened to this definitely over 100 times as well. Next one then, Bobby Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited, from 65. This one I've definitely listened to over like 500 times. I could have chose loads of Bob Dylan albums. I could have chose Blood on the Tracks, Blonde on Blonde, Freewheeling, the first album, I would imagine. Maybe Bringing It All Back Home. I've listened to all of them like hundreds of times, but I think this is the cream of the crop for me. It's such a good album. It's got my favourite song of all time on it. My favourite song of all time is what is it? Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues. I love the piano in it. I love the lyrics, all that kind of lyrical imagery. The guitar on here is brilliant as well. Mike Bloomfield's guitar on this album is phenomenal, especially in songs like Tombstone Blues, and obviously Al Cooper with his kind of rudimentary Hammond organ playing. Everything just sounds so perfect. That Ballad of a Thin Man, just amazing as well. But yeah, it's like Bob Dylan at his best. But yeah, I love that Tombstone Blues. Look, that guitar line in that after he sings, was it Mum is in the factory, she ain't got no shoes. Daddy's in the alley, he's looking for the food, and I'm in the kitchen with the Tombstone Blues. Preach it, Bobby. Doesn't get any better than that. Finally, couldn't do this without showing love. The first three albums, those first three Elektra albums, I've easily listened to over 100 times. For Sale, I've listened to over 100 times. Probably Out Here as well, and False Start. But I'm in danger of showing Forever Changes in every single video I do, so I thought I'd show For Sale. This is the fourth album, the last one for Elektra. Love this album. I think the story goes that Arthur had, 27 songs that he'd recorded at a session, and he owed Elektra one more album. He'd had enough of Elektra, and this is what they came up with. Elektra got first pick of the 27 songs, and they chose these 10, and then the rest went on the first album for Blue Thumb, that double album Out Here. I don't think they picked the best 10 songs. I'd love to make up a mix. I'm going to do that, make up a mix out of those 27 songs, and I think I could make up a better 10, but then this is a brilliant album. I love it. A harder sound than the first three albums, a different lineup, obviously. And they say conventional wisdom says that the first three Elektra albums were Love's Finest and Arthur Lee's finest albums. That's why you should ignore conventional wisdom, because I think this is brilliant as well. I know people slag off False Start, but I think False Start's a great album, and Out Here would have been a great single album. The double was too much, but yeah, On Here anyway. August is just phenomenal. You've got that great guitar playing by Jay Donnellan. Always See Your Face is so melodic. Robert Montgomery's a brilliant song. Dream's an amazing song. Singing Cowboy is fantastic as well. Yeah, what an album. You can never go wrong with Arthur Lee. Well, I can't anyway. This was a French press that I picked up. It sounds really nice. But yeah. Obviously, no Brian McLean, no Johnny Eccles, but still brilliant. And like every Love album, I've probably listened to more than 100 times, maybe up until Real to Real. And then after that, I wouldn't have listened to those ones over 100. But yeah, fantastic stuff. So there we go. That's my 5 over 100. I wish I did this about a week ago, but messing about doing other stuff. I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And like I said, go over and support Randall at his channel. Until the next time then, see you later. Bye for now.